يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن ولو كان من عند غير الله لوجدوا فيه اختلافا كثيرا.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد. Please come nearer. Please come, sit together, inshallah. So these are the verses 238 to 242 from Surah Al Baqarah. And the verse that we are going to read today is حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى. To حافظوا means preserve. So make effort to preserve, to guard the prayers and the middle prayer. So this is one of the most difficult verses in the Quran, in the sense that what Allah had mentioned before is all the rules about divorce. If you read the verse before that, Quran says if you divorce the women, do this, don't do this, how much to wait, long details, many verses about family life. And after mentioning the family life, suddenly the Quran mentions the prayer. So most people find really very difficult to understand how this is connected. Because as we know, the Quran is a book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And like any speech, when people speak, their speech is always coherent. Whatever sentences they use, it's connected. People don't speak things which are not connected. If people say something like that, people think they are mad. So people who have sense, they always speak what makes sense. And what makes sense is things which are connected, interrelated. When you move from one point to the other point, there should be connection. You can't just talk about your family and then something in India and something in Saudi Arabia without any connection. So whenever people speak, there must be connection. Now the problem is the Quran is saying these things about divorce, family life, and suddenly Quran moves to the prayer. The verse number 238, which has no connection with the family life. Because the family life is different thing, especially divorce and things like that, there's no connection. So why Quran mentioning Hafiz wa ala salawat, the prayer in middle of nowhere? So this is one of the questions has been bothering and worrying people for a long time. To understand this thing, you have to look somewhere else in the Quran. So like in Surah Al Allah mentions in the Quran, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those believers are successful, those who do khushu in the prayers. Then after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions many things. Zakat, family life, protecting. Then when he ends the chapter, he again said, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَوَاتِهِمْ يُحَافِظُونَ. Those who preserve the prayer. Meaning is, this section starts with the prayer and ends with the prayer. So the way of the Quran is, whenever Quran has a chapter, and beginning of the chapter is the prayer, the end of the chapter will be the prayer. In between there are many things connected. So last thing, the prayer comes again. So Allah starts with the prayer and ends with the prayer. Similarly, in Surah Al-Ma'arij, Quran has mentioned about people who go to paradise, certain qualities. And one of the important qualities is about the prayer. To start with the prayer and then mention many other qualities and ends with the prayer. Is it clear? To understand the connection in the Quran is that the prayer is the most important thing. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands many commands, it could be possible to start with the prayer. Then he moves from one detail to other detail. When the chapter ends, then the prayer will come again. So the connection is the beginning of the chapter and end of the chapter, they are connected. That is the connection. And many people do, good speakers, when they start something, with a strong point. Something like, for example, you want to give a talk to the students to encourage them to work hard. So in first sentence you say, you must realize your importance and work hard and something like that. And then you mention many, many points connected to that. Then when you conclude the speech, again you come to work hard. Is it clear? To many, many good speakers always, whenever they start with an important point, in between if they bring many, many points, what will happen is the end also will be the same point. To beginning and conclusion should be the same. So that is important connection. The Quran has started this chapter with the prayer. And it says, لَيْسَ الْبِرَّ أَن تُوَلُّوا وُجُوهَكُمْ قِبْلَ الْمَشْرِقِ وَالْمَغْرِبِ. Quran starts that how important the prayer is and how to face the Qibla. Then from prayer, Quran mentions the Qibla. The Qibla is important. When the Qibla comes, then what important thing is, where is the Qibla of the believers? In Makkah. And believers used to be in Medina. And who used to rule Makkah? Unbelievers. So if Qibla is so important, it doesn't make any sense that it remains under the control of unbelievers. So that's why after mentioning the prayer and the Qibla, the command comes in the Quran to fight them, to do jihad. Why to do jihad? Jihad basically is to liberate the Kaaba, to free the Kaaba from the hands of unbelievers. So the many, many verses come about the jihad. When jihad happens, then many, many men will be killed. When the men are shaheed, then what is the ruling about their wives, the widows, and the orphans? Then the Quran mentions their rights and how the society has to look after the orphans and how the society has to look after the widows, to marry them, to understand their rights, don't exploit their condition, don't take away from their wealth, don't oppress them, don't wrong them. The Quran mentions the rights of the widows and the orphans. When the Quran mentions the rights of the women whose husbands have been killed, then from that Quran also moves to those women whose husbands have not been killed, but the husbands have divorced them. Separation happened. Connected to Quran mentions many, many verses about talaq, about the divorce. When all this chapter ends, then the Quran comes back to the prayer. Is it clear to everybody? The connection? So the connection is the command of the prayer. And when command for the prayer came, then command also came to face the Qibla. When command came to face the Qibla, then command also came to liberate the Qibla, because Qibla was occupied by unbelievers. When command came to liberate the Qibla and free it, then command also came about the wives of those people who are going to be killed in the path of Allah, shaheed. What will happen to their widows? We have to look after them, we have to look after the children. So detailed command. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in detail the rulings about those widows and the orphans, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also used at the same time was to make clear there are women whose husband did not die, but they divorced them. If the women have been divorced, then what is the right for them and what is the obligation of the believers and all those things. When all these details have ended, then what happens? Allah comes to the beginning of the command. And what was the beginning of the command? The prayer. That what many people, why they fail to understand the verses, because they want to find connection between the prayer and between the divorce. And they don't find, so they think really how Quran mentions about the divorce and this and that, and then suddenly the prayer. So the connection of the prayer is not with the divorce. The connection of the prayer is with the beginning of the command of the prayer. In between, many things came in details and details for some connection, for some context. So now it is coming again, the end of the chapter, to remind the people about the prayer. So Allah said, حَافِظُوا عَلَى الصَّلَوَاتِ وَالصَّلَاةِ الْوُسْطَى. Preserve, guard the prayers and the middle prayer. What does it mean? Why not enough to say the prayers? Why somebody has to say guard the prayers and the middle prayer? Because if you say pray properly, preserve, look after, guard the prayers. That's enough. Why you need to say guard the prayers and the middle prayer? So many people, again here, they fail to understand. So they think among the prayers, there is a prayer which is middle prayer, and that is most important. That's why Quran mentions it separately. The Quran says, preserve the prayer, guard the prayers, and the middle prayer. Because the middle prayer is very important. But now, what is the middle prayer? Then some people say middle prayer is Asr. Because in the morning, the Fajr and Zuhr, 5 prayers, the middle will be which one? Asr if you start from Fajr. Some people say no, middle prayer is, Zuhr. They say the Isha and the Fajr. To every single disciplines of Fajr, every single prayer is considered by the ulama as the middle. So then basically the whole command does not make any meaning. Because if every prayer becomes a middle prayer, then what is the middle prayer? So this is another problem for many ulama, why Quran says middle prayer. But the opinion, because I'm writing my own tafsir, the opinion that I've chosen really is Quran is want to say guard 5 prayers. Quran actually by saying this thing, what do you want to say? 5 prayers. How it could be 5 prayers? So when Quran says Hafidhu ala salawati was salatil wusta, guard the prayers and the middle prayer. Now you have to think really how many prayer you need to make one middle. When Quran says salawat, guard the prayers. Salawat in Arabic language plural, jama'. Plural in Arabic language only comes at least for 3, cannot come for 2. So when Quran says that guards the prayers and the middle prayer, so if you make 3 prayers, at least minimum is 3, and then you say middle, the middle will be 4th. In 4 prayer, how can you make middle? Impossible. Tell me the least number where you can have middle prayer. 5. Because al-salawat will mean 4, and the middle will be the 5th one, middle. There's no number less than that. So instead of saying preserve the 5 prayers, Quran says preserve the prayers and the middle. Prayers and middle only can happen when there's 5 prayers, at least. Because if there are 4, there cannot be middle. There cannot be less than 4, because plural in Arabic is 3 and the middle is 4. In 4 prayers, you never can make middle. So least number when you can make a prayer middle will be 5 prayers. Least. More than that. So least, at least, we should go for the least one. So least number when you can have salawat, plural, and also middle, it will be only 5, never less. So many ulama say, actually, Allah SWT wants to say, guard all the 5 times of prayer. And they have been mentioned the Quran detail. Quran actually has mentioned all the prayers, 5 prayers by name. Isha, Zuhr, Fajr, all those prayers have been mentioned in the Quran. So now Quran is summarizing it that all the prayers must be guarded properly. Every prayer is important. People must pray Fajr, must pray Zuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha, and guard them. Guarding them means learn their timing, to pray them in the time. Because in the prayer, time is as important as standing or ruku and sajda. Same important for the time. If you miss the time, then the prayer becomes incomplete. Missing the time is very similar to missing the qiyam or ruku or sajda. In the prayer, time must be understood properly, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very keen for the people to do the prayers on the time. That's why He always says, pray Fajr before sunrise. You are not allowed to pray Fajr when sun rises. He commands you to pray Zuhr when the sun declines. You are not allowed to pray Zuhr when it is midday. You are not allowed to pray Maghrib before sunset. Prayer times are very, very important. That's why I say Quran says, Aqimis salata liduluki shams. Pray, establish the prayer when the sun declines, goes down until sunset, and then say Qur'an al-Fajr, and pray also before the sunrise. So this is very important. No prayer in the Quran is when the sun is rising. There's no command for the prayer in the Quran when the moon is rising. There's no command for the prayer in the Quran when the star is rising. Every time Quran commands the prayer, it always connected when the stars fall down, when the moon fall down, when the sun fall down. The Quran never said pray when sun rises, never. It always like that. It is very important to understand really. That way you can see Quran says about the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُكُمْ وَمَا غَوَى. By the star, when the star falls down. The star when it falls down, it bears witness that Muhammad is not on the error. He is not misled. He is not gone astray. So how the star witness? Have you ever thought? Quran said, when the star falls down, it is a witness that Muhammad has not gone astray. Muhammad not misguided. How can we witness? When the star falls down, by the end of the night. In the end of the night, what corrupt people, wrong people of Makkah do? Makkan people, those who are corrupt and wrong, misled people, in the beginning of the night, they sit together, they drink wine, then they gamble, then they go to women, all those sexual things and this thing and that thing, until they're tired in the night. Then what happens? Then late at night they sleep. Is it like that? All the wrong people who go to pubs, what they do? They do all celebration early night. But late night what they do? They sleep. After they are tired, they sleep. Quran is saying that when the star falls down, if you want to see whether Muhammad is among the corrupt people or among the right people, go and see him. When all these corrupt people are sleeping and Muhammad is doing what? He wakes up and does wudu and pray. That is proof Muhammad is not on the wrong path. Because wrong people, they don't wake up in the late night. They spend night all corruption, all wrong thing, and then they sleep. But Muhammad does not do. So in the Quran, whenever you see the timing of the prayer, it always connected with the fall of the sun, fall of the moon, and fall of the star. Because all these Middle Eastern people, they used to worship sun when it rises. They used to worship a star when the stars rise. They used to worship moon when they rise. Believers want to make clear that our Lord never declines. Stars can decline, moon can decline, sun can decline, but our Lord does not decline. So when the Zohar time comes, sun declines, believer come to the masjid and make very clear, sun can decline, but the Lord that I worship, he never declines. Maghrib time, sun can set, but my Lord, he never sets. So that's why Quran says, mentioning here, do the prayers on the time. 5 prayers properly on the time, facing the Qibla with sincerity, with humility. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Do on the time properly, and when you stand in the prayer, stand with humility and fear of Allah. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Maryam alayhi salam how to pray, what Allah said to Maryam alayhi salam, Ya Maryamu uqnuti li rabbike wasjudi warka'i ma'ar raki'in. O Maryam, when you pray, stand with humility, with humbleness, with fear of Allah. Then do ruku and sajda. Same thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanding the believers that when you stand for the prayer on the time, with humility. Now think really, when we people pray, what we do? We learn so many things, how much to raise the hand and where to place the hand and all those things. And then we fight. The Hanafi madhab, Maliki madhab, Shafi madhab, Hanbali madhab. None of these details are ever mentioned in the Quran. What you think the prayer means, that is not in the Quran. Quranic prayers are timing, qiyam, ruku, sajda, and humility, fear of Allah. It doesn't matter in the Quran whether you raise your hand up to your ear or to shoulder. It doesn't matter to the Quran whether you place your hand on the chest or under the navel, or you leave the hand, like many ulama do this. It all, it's a different way of humility. But Quran wants you to be humble. Some people have humility when they put the hand on the chest. Some people have humility when they put hand under the navel. Some people have humility when they leave the hand. Fine. What matters is humility. You be humble and fear of Allah. Some people could be concentrating when they raise their hand up to their ear. Some people up to the shoulder. That's fine. Whatever can make you to concentrate, that's enough. So you see. Similarly, Quran does not necessarily emphasize really that you say something in the prayer. Like when you come to the king, you need to stand in the fear and properly. Not necessarily to say something. Quranic prayer does not necessarily need to say. See, in this, Quran does not say you say something. It means in the prayer, if you are humble, even if you don't read anything, you still can be fine. That's why many ulama say in the prayer there is no reading. In the prayer can be valid without reading. The people have different opinions. But Quranic prayers are like that. Understand really. The prayer that Quran said makes people successful is the prayer where the khushu. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Those believers are successful, those who have khushu. Quran never said those believers are successful, those who pray like Hanafi madhab, or Maliki madhab, or Shafi madhab, Hanbali madhab. These madhabs came later. They are helpful for the people. But that's not what you need to learn. Learn the prayers of the Quran. That Quran wants to teach you. So this is what we need to understand really. That if you pray kind of Hanafi madhab or Shafi'i madhab, but you don't pray on the time, and you don't have humility in the prayer, then your prayers have no value. What matters is this, that understand. That's why I don't need to fight. Don't fight people who differ from you. Because the person who differs from you, if he's more humble and fears Allah more, he is nearer to Allah than you. What matters to Allah is your heart, how your mind is, how much you concentrate in the prayer, how much you think and understand. The Quran's Hafiz will guard the prayers and the middle prayer, which means 5 prayers. وَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. And stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for Allah with qunut, with humility, calmness. Don't move. Look like you have fear of Allah. When you fear of Allah, don't move in the prayer, don't walk. But believers will have different conditions. Sometimes believers are in the peace, like we are in the peace, but sometimes believers could be in the war. Fighting, jihad, war. If you're in the war and you're fighting enemy, can you stand in the peace? You have to move. So then Quran, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides believers in every case. Allah said, فَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا. If you have fear, meaning is, if you are in the war, then you cannot pray like, then you have to move. Then Allah said, fine, then you can pray rijalan, walking on the feet. But in the war, you have your weapons and your enemies are coming. You have to walk. So Allah says you can pray while walking. Or rukbanan, you can pray also while riding. Camels or horses. In our time, it will be different riding. Could be some other ways to ride. People can be riding on the tank. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says when you are fighting, then you can pray while walking or while riding. Both are fine. So this has been allowed. فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ. But when the fear goes, you can't continue can't pray while walking. Because this concession to pray while walking only was in the fear, when the war. When the war has finished, then come back and pray properly. That's what many people don't understand. Like for example in Islam, the Prophet ﷺ said, don't stop the women from coming to the prayer. They should come to the prayer to masjid. Then a time came in Kufa and somewhere else where the fitna, and if women go outside, people will harm them. Then ulama gave fatwa, in this condition, they don't pray Fajr and Isha in the masjid. Then, civil war happened more. Then ulama say, every prayer women should do at home. And then they took that ruling until now. That ruling was temporary. there is fitna, problem. When the problem finished, peace came, then women should go to the masjid. So sometimes what happens is that an exceptional case comes and many people forget and they take exception as a norm. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that, when you have fear, then you can pray while walking. You can pray while riding. And now you say, oh, Quran say like that, and now always you pray while walking and driving the car and this. No, that was exception. And the Quran says, فَإِذَا أَمِنْتُمْ, when the fear has gone, exception has gone, فَذْكُرُوا اللَّهَ كَمَا عَلَّمَكُمْ مَا لَمْ تَكُونُوا تَعْلَمُونَ. Then remember Allah. Remember Allah means pray. Because the phrase remembering Allah, as Allah has taught you. Meaning, qiyam, ruku, sajda, humility, calmness, do properly as you did not know. Is it clear to everybody? So these two verses have come at the end of the chapter. Beginning of the chapter was what? The prayer. Then in the middle came many rulings about jihad, about the women, about the divorce. When the chapter ended, then again the prayer is coming to remind you about the importance of the prayer and to teach you what you need to learn about the prayer, what Allah did not mention at the beginning. So now the whole chapter is complete. Now what happens is, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions about the women, the widows and divorcee women, their rights. So some questions came which were not mentioned earlier. The Quranic way is, when Quran mentions a chapter and ends it, then at the end of those verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings few verses to answer the questions which have arisen from the teachings before. Is it clear to everybody? So there are few questions still remain about the women. Now Allah is answering them. So don't look for the connection of the prayer. They're not connected with the prayer. The prayer is the end of the chapter. Now two verses are coming about certain questions about the women which were not answered earlier, and people have questions about them. So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to answer them. One of the questions is that if the husbands die and they leave the women, these women, where are going? Because the houses will be taken away by the inheritors. So women will become homeless when the husband dies. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, don't do this thing. Respect the women and don't make them homeless. And give them enough time until they get married again or something like that. They find their way. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَالَّذِينَ يُتَوَفَّوْنَ مِنْكُمْ. Among you, those men who die, they are going to die. Many often people know they are going to die because they have illness and this and that. So when they're dying, وَيَذَرُونَ أَزْوَاجًا. They're dying and they're leaving behind wives. One wife, two wives, they're leaving some wives. So they know they are going to die. They are very severe ill. Somebody got cancer, somebody got something, and they know he's going to die. And he's going to also leave behind the wives. So what Allah commanded, وَصِيَّةً لِأَزْوَاجِهِمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanding you that these men, they must make a will, a written will for their wives. That must be done by these men. Yeah. What is the will be? مَتَاعًا إِلَى الْحَوْلِ غَيْرَ إِخْرَاجٍ. That for one whole year, the women will get mata'. Mata' means proper maintenance. The food, the clothes, whatever women need for maintenance, as the husband was alive, all those maintenance will be given to them for 1 year. غَيْرَ إِخْرَاجٍ. And during this 1 year, women will not be expelled from the houses. The houses where the husband died, women will remain there for 1 year. Is it clear to everybody? So they remain there for 1 year. These are the cases in non-Muslim society like we live. But when a Muslim society comes, the inheritance is distributed properly, then women get their share as well anyway. But in those cases where the society is not Islamic, then Quranic ways don't make women homeless. Because in Quran, it is very bad for the believers that women walk on the street without houses. Even when the Prophet became angry with his wife, what he did? He left the house, not the wife. He did not say to his wife, you leave the house, because where women will go? The Prophet left the house. Once the Prophet ﷺ came to house of Fatima radiallahu anha, and he asked Fatima, where's your husband Ali? So she said there was a dispute between me and him, and he left the house. And the Prophet found out that he's sleeping in the masjid. So Ali did not expel the Fatima from house. Who left the house? Ali. Because that is the way of Islam. Islamic way is women should not be expelled from the houses. Because it's very bad for believers that the women in the society, they sleep on the streets. Women should get the house. Men can sleep in the street. Men can come and sleep in the masjid. Men can become homeless. But women are not allowed to become homeless in the Quran. Quran always says, the Quran says, إِذَا طَلَّقْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ فَطَلِّقُوهُنَّ لِعِدَّتِهِنَّ. When you divorce the women, divorce them properly. And Quran said, وَلَا تُخْرِجُوهُنَّ مِن بُيُوتِهِنَّ وَلَا يَخْرُجْنَ. Don't expel the women from their houses, and they themselves don't leave the house. The Quran calls houses women's house. The women live there. Is it clear to everybody? So during the divorce or when the husband dies, women are not allowed to be expelled from the house. They don't leave the house until they make arrangement. So at least 1 year they will remain. Fine, kharajna, but the women leave the house themselves. They get married, or they say, no, I'm going to have job. I don't need your house. I don't know this. That's fine then. You don't expel them. But if they themselves want to leave the house for some arrangement, maybe their parent is very rich, they say to them, no, you come to our house, or maybe they arrange their house, then there's no harm. But if the women don't leave, then men are not allowed to expel them from their houses. Not only don't expel them, make proper arrangement for the food and all the maintenance, everything. If the women leave the house, there's no harm upon you. فِيمَا فَعَلْنَا فِي أَنفُسِهِنَّ مِن مَعْرُوفٍ. In whatever the women do, according to the known custom. Meaning if they want to get married, or they have job, they have their own accommodation, this is known in the society. If they do this, then you cannot interfere. But if the women do something wrong in the society, then you can stop them, because they belong to your family. So like your husband died, and now husband's brother, they see his wife is going to a wrong path. Yeah, then they should interfere. They should say something that you belong to our house, you're not right. But if they do something right, means they get married, or they get a job, they want to live nicely, or with somebody, then there's no harm. Then men are not allowed to stop them. Is it clear, everybody? Only men can stop them if the women do something which is wrong, which can bring bad name to the house. Then they should interfere, they should say something, because men and women, they should support each other to be on the right path. Wallahu azizun hakim. And Allah is all powerful, all wise. So you see, so if nobody, men should not think that they have more power. Allah has more power than them. And people should not think really that why Allah makes all these details, because Allah is wise. He knows really these details are important. So you don't jump, you don't think that you can do whatever you like. You don't think that you know a human being more than Allah. Allah is all powerful, all wise. Then Quran mentioning is وَلِلْمُطَلَّقَاتِ مَتَاعٌ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. When Quran mentioned about these women whose husband died, they should have maintenance. Then now Quran also wants to remind you about other women who are divorced. Quran says all the women who are divorced, you must give them something. Mata'un. You give them proper gift, maintenance, whatever, during the Eid prayer. Every woman deserves, gift from you. In a Quranic way, when separation happens, it should happen nicely. Good environment, in a good condition, not hating it everybody. So give them, maintenance during the waiting period, and after that, give them some gift. حَقًّا عَلَى الْمُتَّقِينَ. This is not optional. This is obligatory on the believers, on the people who fear Allah, obligatory. The meaning is, that's why many ulama say when women are divorced, they have a right of accommodation and expenses, all maintenance during the waiting period. After the waiting period, they still have a right. Meaning when they leave your house, they should not leave like, disrespect, with respect. No, they should leave with respect. Give them gift, some extra thing. So even if they leave your house, go to their parents' house, they have enough to remain, to live on that. Is it clear? Like, anybody comes to your house, nice gift, you respect him. When he leaves, you give him something as a gift. These women, they stayed with you for a long time. Now divorce happened. They leave the house. In the waiting period, you gave them all the maintenance. Now when they leave the house, still they need your help. Support them. Is it clear to everybody? There should be no hatred. But what many people do, they take everything. That's really very mean character. Many people, they take from women everything. Oh, I gave you this jewelry, I gave you this and that. Quran does not like that. Allah says, whatever is given to the women, don't take back. It's a very mean character. Whatever you gave them, leave them, and actually give more. Allah loves that. But people don't do this thing. That mean character is, when you're happy, you spend money. When you're unhappy, then you take everything. That's mean character. Noble people, if they have given something, they don't take back. It must be given, then given. Don't take back. The Quran said, when women are divorced and now they leave your house, still give them some gift. No, it should be nicely. Haqqan ala muttaqeen, obligated on the believer. Now people would think really, why Quran did not mention these two verses about divorce in the divorce section? Their divorce section, then prayer comes at the end, then again divorce. So Allah said, because these verses, they are not connected directly to the divorce section. They are only some explanation. To Allah himself explains, كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ. This is how Allah explains His ruling upon to you. He brings some verses which are for explanation. They are not part of the real command. They came to explain further. Is it clear to everybody? So you can see how Quran is very clear. When people cannot see the connection, Allah creates connection. He said their connection. The reason these two verses are at the end, because they don't belong to the main chapter of divorce. They are some more further explanation. And further explanation, they come at the end. So Allah said, like that, Allah makes further explanation. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَعْقِلُونَ. So you understand that what the main command is, and there is still something missing, to Allah brings at that, so you can think really, you can focus on that. That's why Allah SWT gives this so important. And the truth really is, Quranic, rulings about the divorce, they are so many, you cannot imagine. About the nikah, marriage, Quran does not mention so many things. Quran does not mention when you marry, you make a witness. But Quran mentions when you divorce, you make a witness. But what we do? We do opposite. We make a witness in the marriage, and we don't make a witness when we divorce. Quran said, وَأَشْهَدُوا عَلَيْهِنَّ. When you divorce women, make a witness. And what we do? We make a witness when we marry. Because when people marry, they are happy and celebration, so they do everything. When they divorce, they hate. That's why Quran wants to make clear, no, don't hate the women when you divorce them. Still, you have to understand they are, slaves of their Lord. You cannot hurt them, cannot them. To all the rights are met. That's why Quran has more and more details about the divorce and the women who are widows. Though Quran has very little detail about the marriage. Because marriage, everybody wants to know the ruling. Because that's the beginning. Desire and happiness. So everybody is very happy to do anything. But when the divorce happens, then people don't want to follow any command. So that's why the Quran is more detailed. But unfortunately, most Muslims in the society, they don't learn rulings about the divorce. They don't learn any rights. Basically, the separation happens with very ugliness. Both parties hate each other. They can't talk. Quran wants to make it nicely, with kindness, with love and affection. Quran says that where problem happens, then either keep your wives with justice and fairness, or leave them with fairness, and also some favor. So anyway, stop it here, inshallah. And if you have any question, please ask.
Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh. So my question is, if a man dies and leaves women and all the property has been given to the woman, is there ongoing responsibility of grandfather or somebody else to then continue to maintain the woman forever?
Yeah, the thing really is in Islamic law, there's the inheritance law. So when the husband dies, then all the property they will be distributed according to certain fifth share. So something will go to father, something to mother, and something to the wife, and something to the children. They can't do that. But in a society where the distribution cannot happen Islamic way, then the way Quran may at least make a will for the wives. For the father, there are other means. For mother, there are other means. But wives generally are dependent on the husband. So for them, Quran wants to make will properly. But people can write will for other people as well. But for wives, more emphasized. But if you can write the will for everybody, the father should go. That's good. Like in this society, if people die, there will be no, they will not distribute the property according to Islamic law. So you have to write will. If you write will properly, then will could be executed. But anyway, so there are rights for the father, for the mother, for everybody in the property.
So my question was that does the father-in-law has to then provide maintenance for the daughter-in-law if there is no will? But
oh, I see. Okay. So the women, or not only women, even the men, could be like orphans, children, elderly people. If they don't earn any money and they don't have any property, who look after them? So there are different categories really. So sometime father will be responsible. Sometime if father is too old and also he does not have anything, mothers could be sometime, could be children, could be brother. The people will be responsible according to their shares in the inheritance. So for example, if that person had died, how much share you get? Now he's alive and he does not have everything. Similar money has to spend upon that. So people's responsibility on the weak people, on the poor people is according to your share in their property when they die. Is it clear? So for example, your son, if he dies, how much you get? That is your responsibility. If your son becomes ill and he cannot do anything, you have to spend upon him. So generally, men will be responsible. But if they're not men, women also, like mother, if she has money, she will spend. Daughters can spend, sisters, but generally, responsibility in Islam comes to the men. Men have to be responsible.
So just a related question to that. So typically, say in the UK, if somebody, say if a husband was to pass away and you've got kids maybe who are 18 years old or something, normally the wife would keep everything. How does that's, for me, that doesn't seem strictly correct. What's your view on that?
Yeah, the law of this country is different, but Muslims should write a will really, because according to Islamic law, it is not only the wife or husband gets everything, everybody else should get it. The people should write a will properly. Then after my death, this part will go to this will be for the wife, this for. So then it will be nicely done. Otherwise, no doubt, one person will take everything.
I mean, even if the kids are like 18 years old or something.
Yeah, still.
You would give them whatever their share is due.
But then when they die, then the relative will inherit. Okay. But people, even if they're 80 years old, still they deserve. Okay. Meaning the inheritance should be given to everybody properly, as the Quran has said. If somehow the country does not allow that, then right will. So then they get. When this 80-year-old person dies, then his relative will inherit. That's how it goes. But you can't deprive him because he's old. No. You don't know really. Maybe somebody lives 100 years or somebody who's young, they die quickly. We don't know anything.
I just have one follow-up question, unrelated. What is a man's obligation towards adult kids? So if the kids are baligh, they're old, even whether it be boys or girls.
The men have to look after the boys until they become adult. Adult means when they, if the prayer becomes obligatory. Sometimes boys become adults when they're 15-year-old, sometimes 16, 17, maximum 18. So for the boys, the rule is when they become adult, then the parents have no responsibility of maintenance. They should go and find their own way in their life. That's how the companies used to do. For the girls, for the daughters, the rule is you have to look after them until they get married, because they can't go outside world. So for the women, until they get married, and for the boys, until they become adult.
My question is on, I'm not clear with the understanding of حافظوا على الصلوات والصلاة الوسطى. Why is the middle prayer being singled out, and what is the understanding from that?
This is one way to say 5 prayers. The prayers and middle prayer. So means there are prayers and also there is one middle prayer. So if you want to understand really how it works, to see salawat in Arabic language could be at least 3. Not less than 3. But if you make 3, then the middle will be 4. With the 4 prayer, there is no middle prayer. So then make salawat as 4, and the middle one as the 5th one. Then it works. The minimum number where salawat and salat usta could be properly done, 5 prayer. It cannot be less than that. Impossible. So this is one way to say 5 prayers.
So why can't it be 3?
Because Quran says salawat. So salawat at least will mean 3. And salawat will mean 3. At least 3. And then and middle, it becomes 4. So with the 4, there's no middle.
Okay.
Middle prayer only can at least, with 3, it cannot, with the 3 middle will be there. But the 2 are not salawat.
Okay.
So you have to look 2 things, salawat and middle. That only can happen when the number is 5, at least. If it's 7, it can happen at least 5. So that's what the ulama say, that it means 5 prayers.
Okay.
Sheikh, when it says that do the prayer at the right time, is it any time between the starting, for example, Dhuhr? Is it between the times, or is it the earliest time?
So can you say what?
So for example, if the man is not praying in the masajid, he's praying it in his house, when it says that you should pray within the time, is it you should pray at the earliest time starting, or is it any time given?
Yeah,
from
there are actually 2 times, beginning and end times. Between these 2 times, any time you pray, that's fine. To make prayer earlier, that's better. For example, Zuhr starts at 1 o'clock and ends by 5. So between 1 and 5, you can pray any time. But it is always better to do the prayers as soon as they become obligatory, because we don't know what will happen really. To hasten to the time is always good. But if you delay for some reason, until then, it's fine, there's no harm. But don't make delaying your habit. Yeah, if you make habit, then it means you're lazy. So that should not. Lazy people, they keep looking, they pray at the end. That should not happen. Always pray, in the beginning of the time.
وإذا جاءهم أمر من الأمن أو الخوف أذاعوا به ولو ردوه إلى الرسول وإلى أولي الأمر منهم لعلمه الذين يستنبطونه منهم ولولا فضل الله عليكم ورحمته لاتبعتم الشيطان إلا قليلا.
صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.